Hello, and welcome to the Against the Fence podcast with your host, Breezy. Today, episode number 2, we've got a double drop for you guys. Hopefully, it will keep you entertained in your commutes wherever you're going. Today's episode is a little bit different to the first one. It's a bit more conversational. Wanted to see kind of how that panned out in terms of engagement and views. So, welcome. Today's guest is RedwolfMMA. He's a friend of the channel. And he's got over 3,000 followers on X or Twitter. I still call it Twitter. I can't help it. And he has, and I've got to say, he has some top quality engagement and posts. So if you guys need someone to kind of give you a break from the kind of relentless kind of media push that we get on X and Twitter about fights being arranged and who done this and who does that, and you just want to break in a bit of a laugh, 100% follow this guy. He always gives me a good laugh, and he has just some top posts. So let's get right into it. Enjoy. RedwolfMMA.
What's happening, Breezy?
Not bad, thanks. Yourself, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. Bit tired, but we keep going. We keep rolling.
Yeah. I was because you were saying just before we hit record that obviously you work a night shift, and it clicked to me how you were watching the Contender series this morning. I was thinking you're a mad fan if you are staying up on a school night watching the Contender series, but it makes sense.
If I wasn't being paid for it, I probably wouldn't have done it. That way. So I thought, while I'm here, I'll have a little watch. And it was actually a pretty decent episode as well. Like plus 1,000, plus 900, 1,000 underdog. Overhand right. I can't remember the name, but it was one hell of a shot.
Yeah. It's one of them ones, Contender series, where it's a tough one for me because I like the idea of it, but then I also miss the old school tough.
Yeah.
Like when Nick Diaz and Bisping were on it, and they were like really showing what the fighters were like as people. Because now it's kind of every episode is like an introduction to the person at home rather than kind of what they're doing in the house. And I don't like that dynamic as much as it used to be. So I appreciate they moved away from it, but it was just so good seeing the guys just like fighting in the house and getting pissed and stuff.
Yeah. It was like Big Brother, but you actually got to watch them fight each other for real. You know what I mean? Like, I remember when Bisping was in it on Tough 3. Like, I think that's when Americans really got introduced to Northern English sense of humour and personality.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So they were like, kind of thinking, what's up with this guy? And I'm just like, that's us. That's what we do. Like, do you know what I mean? So I haven't actually watched Tough for ages. I watched a bit of the McGregor and Chandler one, but you're right. It just didn't feel the same as old Tough. So I kind of watched a couple of episodes and then like left it. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I miss the old days of Tough. I miss the old days of everything, to be honest. You know what I mean?
We had Cody Gibson on the main channel for a Q&A, and he said that the amount of footage they took and some of the stuff behind the scenes was like so entertaining and so good, and just like none of it got aired.
Yeah. It's a shame. I like Cody Gibson. I remember watching him in it, and I thought, I do like this kid. But he's been on it before as well. I think the previous season.
He wasn't on Tough. He were, I think, in 2014. Everyone's going to pull me apart because I have shot a podcast episode with Cody. So if that's wrong, I'm going to look really bad now. He joined, I think, in 2014 when he was like 27, and I mean, his first fight was against Aljamain Sterling before Aljo was big.
Yeah.
And I think he had a tough run, and then was out again. But in 2017, came back, kind of regional scene. I think he had one fight at Eagle FC with Khabib.
Yeah.
And he had like Usman and stuff on the commentary. I mean, that would have been quite interesting. And then I think he had one fight after that, and then was back in the UFC on Tough.
Yeah.
And now look at him. Yeah,
he's doing all right. He's doing all right. But
yeah.
It's a shame.
Sorry,
I was just saying, it's a shame they cut so much stuff out of, like, you can tell as well. Like, especially with American shows, they have these like quick cuts, and you kind of think like they've missed something out there. So surely something's happened that we've just missed. But yeah, man, like I say, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah,
I've not even watched any of the Shevchenko or Grasso one at all.
Neither. I mean, It was the finale like at the weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't
I
even
mean,
know who won.
I watched the card with the finale on it, and I was like, oh yeah, these guys are all right. And I was kind of, shit, I should have watched it, but it's just, I don't know, like I say, something doesn't feel right. But the
Yeah, I know
Contender
what you mean.
series, it's all right. That was probably the second time I'd watched the Contender series, and I think I watched it on a pretty good episode where every underdog came through. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to. I've prepped a few questions, so we'll go through some of them, see how we go. Obviously, on this podcast, the idea is that we kind of dive deeper into the world of MMA,
Mm.
and we touched on this a little bit earlier, but we'll go into a bit deeper. I can't say what I was going to say. But I'm curious about your connection to the sport. Everyone's obviously got their story of how they got hooked, but what's your connection to MMA? Was it via training? Is it because there was a particular fighter or fight that drew you into the sport? Like kind of paint the picture for me.
I think so. I think the first time I really heard about MMA was I was in high school, but like back then we heard it as cage fighting, and we saw like there was a film I used to watch with DMX and Jet Li, Cradle of the Grave, and
Okay, yeah.
Tito Ortiz was in it, and then like Jet Li gets into this like underground cage fight thing, and he's fighting all these guys in the cage, and like back then you kind of think, it's stuff out of films, this. And then I heard about like it's for real. So I must have been about 13, 12, something like that. And then again I started hearing more about this guy called George St. Pierre. And every time I was like, who's George St. Pierre? That's a pretty cool name, that. And I started like when Google was first like brand new. And I was like Googling and seeing all these forums and that. And I was like, whoa. And I was seeing clips. And I was like, wow, this guy's for real. Like, do you know what I mean? This is real fighting. Yeah, this is the stuff I see on my streets. And it's actually happening in a cage and people are getting paid for it. Like, this is mental. Because we only had boxing. Like, obviously, I grew up like a lot of boxing. And Mike Tyson was one that was massive. And there was a few, like, we had Chris Eubank, do you know what I mean? Ricky Hatton from Manchester.
Yeah.
From there, it kind of just went from there. I think in the UK as well, it wasn't very easy to watch UFC in the early days because it was kind of like still kind of looked down upon in a way, and you could only get it on like if you rented DVDs or videos back then. And then Michael Bisping started making waves, and we spoke about this just before. He got into the Tough House, and then that's when I think people really started taking note of UK MMA. And thinking, there's some talent here, and there's some pretty funny personalities, especially Bisping being, Mancunian and, Northern English. He's got that sense of humour that not a lot of people will vibe with, but, we were like, this guy's hilarious. Do you know what I mean? So, and then from there, I was like, dips in and out. I always tried to train and do stuff, but I kind of probably trained the unofficial way, which was getting my ass beat in a few fights and learning the hard way. Do you know what I mean? And then figuring out what works and what didn't work, type of thing. But then I think it was when Cage Warriors was starting to come big, and then we had the Conor era, and then BT Sport had a deal with the UFC, and that's when it all suddenly over the UK. It became a lot more accessible. Since then, it's been a long ride. I've been in and out of it a lot. But yeah, MMA for me is just one of those. Don't get me wrong, I love boxing, but with MMA, it's real fighting. Do you know, like UFC uses that slogan, it's as real as it gets. Aside from some of the rules, which, are starting to be phased out now. But yeah, I think that's what I loved about it. And it's one of the few places you could see a really small, skinny guy take on a pretty, hench, ripped guy and take him down and choke him out. Do you know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah. Yeah, I like what you said about the kind of Bisping path, because as fans that are aware of that time and partook in the sport in terms of watching it at that time, we are at a point now where we're kind of seeing the people that were inspired by that so much that they're now fighters.
Yeah.
And we're now seeing them in the UFC, and the UK MMA scene at the moment is just exploded.
Yeah.
And we've got so much talent that's really working its way up bit by bit to the point where we've got top contenders. We've got the Aspinall, we've got the we've got the Arnold Allen, we've got.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Makayev.
Yeah. I'm
But
still
we've got these
playing.
individuals.
He's just moved over to a different organisation for now.
Yeah, he'll be back. I'm sure he'll be back. I look forward to that. And then we've got the superstar Paddy Pimblett as well. I mean, we can't forget him.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to see the path that we're taking. And I think I don't want to get too big headed, but we could be fairly dominant, I think, in a few years' time.
Yeah. I think so. It's definitely been a massive, like you say, boom for UK MMA. I remember some guy was talking to you on Twitter a while ago. We kind of talked about this, and he said, what was it he said? He said something along the lines of Bisbing ran. Bisbing walked so Aspinall could run. And it's like, I've seen this little thing where they've put both Aspinall and Tom together, and it's like Aspinall's living through, Bisbing's living through Aspinall. And I'm like, I love that. And those two are quite close. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like in the featherweights at the minute. We've got Arnold Allen, we've got Lerone Murphy, and we've got Nathaniel Wood. Like they're the three that I can think of straight off the bat. And we've just got Jordan. I can never say the guy's last name. Jordan the Epidemic from Cage Warriors. He's just joined the lightweight.
Begins with a V, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's V something. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember how to say it, but yeah, I know who you mean. With the tattoos, it looks crazy, man.
Yeah, like literally covered in tattoos. Yeah, and it's massive. It's booming, and like nearly every week you hear of a new UK MMA fighter that's being signed to the UFC. So I reckon it's the UK takeover, definitely. It's been a long time coming, but we're getting there.
Yeah, we like to think we're tougher now, so it's good for some of us can stand in there and prove it.
Yeah.
I wanted to sort of touch a bit on some of your kind of social media, because you're quite big on X. You've got, pardon me, you've got 3,500 followers, which is pretty good going when I've got less than 300. So I wanted to kind of, more for myself, to be honest, understand what was successful for you to kind of start building that following.
To be honest, I wish I knew myself, because like I don't know, like I only made that page. I think it was around like 2019, so it was before the pandemic and all that. And I think I just started talking to people, just like replying to stuff, posting shit. I've always tried to be funny. I've always tried to either make people think or make people laugh, or a combination of both. Do you know what I mean? And I think recently, sometimes like I'll see me following will dip, and I'll think, have I said something? Have I really annoyed some John Jones fans again? Which is usual for me.
Yeah.
And then it'll rise again. You know what I mean? And then you usually get like a lot of the haters on there. You get a lot of like people just talking absolute bobbins. But to be honest, I don't know how it got that far. But I'm always trying to get a little bit more, and try and reach out to more people and find more like genuine MMA fans. And just have a laugh on there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I say, I've got a few like I suppose you call them memes that have gone like really well, or clips or videos that I've made. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question, that.
Because one of the things I was gonna say, and you've touched on it slightly there, is like the thing that always gets me, and I'm always like, what the hell? I mean, start off with, I think you need to give yourself some more credit. Like the amount of things I see you kind of interacting with, like you put the work in terms of engagement and stuff like that. But then the thing that always gets me is like you'll comment on like a UFC Europe kind of post, and you'll almost have as much likes as the actual post has. And I'm there like, how does he think of these things?
I don't know. I'll see something, and like I think it's like I think it's that Northern British sense of humour where you just you see something and you think, yeah, I'm gonna put that. And don't get me wrong, there's been a few times where I put something, I thought, oh, I shouldn't have said that. And then it's gone really well. Or there's some times where I should have said something and I've seen someone else post it. I've gone, why did I say that? Well, I think you clocked it the other day. Like I commented on Nina Drama put a picture up. And I just couldn't resist. I had to put the picture of Tom Aspinall on there. Say what would it take?
That was class. That was class.
It just blew up, man. So like all these little jokes will come in my head.
Yeah.
Some of them hit, some of them don't. You know what I mean?
I think that's one thing I love about following you is that as I just kind of sit there scrolling through X, a lot of the stuff that I follow is, fighter pages or people that do kind of like news drops and fight announcements and stuff like that. And I'm scrolling through just completely relaxed, looking at whatever's going on in the MMA world, and then I'll just scroll down, it will hit me. You've just commented something like really funny on something, and I'm just and I'm like, it's such a good thing to have as part of like your following is someone that always kind of puts something out there that makes you laugh. So yeah,
Yeah.
I really appreciate your posts. So keep them going because they're so funny.
Well, thank you for that, man. Yeah.
No, that's no, honestly, yeah, I mean that. And that's also why I want you to move into starting to produce like your own kind of content as well, because I think if you brought that kind of comedy that you have on X and put it into like some videos and stuff, I think because you might be able to correct me here, but I can't think of anyone in the kind of MMA content creation or media kind of scene that's particularly out there funny. I know Ben the Bane Davis is he's quite funny sometimes. But like if we call it, I mean, do what you want with you when you start doing it. But if we were to do it as a like a comedy kind of thing, I don't know who's someone that just does the out and out kind of just comedy kind of content.
Yeah. I mean, out and out comedy, I can't think of any. But like some of the guys I follow from the old school, I call it the OG days of MMA Twitter. Some of them were like, you got Mac Mallet. He can be really funny sometimes. Some of the stuff he puts out. I think the issue as well with X is you've got a lot of people that think they're funny and they're not, and they're actually just really offensive with it. Like there's a few accounts that you see and you just think, man, like that's just there's lines that you can toe, and like but then there's lines that they cross and it's just like, oh man, come on. But yeah, I'd love to. I mean, I always do try and mix a little bit of the news thing in there as well. Like, say like, a fighter's just said something. I mean, recently I've just shared a clip of Sean Brady saying that he doesn't understand why people keep saying fraud checks for everyone that loses. And I agree with that. Do you know what I mean? Like fraud checks, one of my pet peeves and one of the words, like, I just hate that word. Do you know what I mean? Or phrase, should I say. So, like I say, I do try and mix it with the news, with the funnies, with the clips. Like, I make a few like Tom Aspinall, John Jones is ducking Tom Aspinall clips just to like, because it's funny. It's just funny.
Yeah.
Recently Dane has been really getting into the glazing at the minute. So I'm like, right, I'm going to try and have a bit of fun with that one. And it's all done in good jest. Like, I don't hate no one. I don't like, ever really like take the mick out of someone because I can't stand them sometimes, But yeah, I do want to get started on the podcast, my own podcast. And it is coming. I think we spoke about before, like you had a similar thing where you were like umming and ahhing, and then in the end you were just like, I just want to do it. And everyone just said, right, fine, do it. And here we are now. So I think, to be honest, I think that's true for a lot of things in life. I think we hold ourselves back for a fear of the unknown, a fear of failure, a fear of what will people think. And I think I do try and remind myself a lot of that in life. It's like usually it's the things that we fear that we should be doing. Apart from, if someone's wielding a machete and going to do your head in, don't run at him, like scarf it, do you know what I mean? Like that's a different type of fear, that's like, nah, I'm getting out of it, mate. Well, usually the stuff that we worry about, the stuff that we think, I'm not going to be able to do that, it's like, no, do it, you know what I mean? Give it a go. What's the worst that could happen? So I'm glad you've said that to me, because I think that's going to like give me that push to get started. And a few others, like so many others. I've got a mate that's like I can help you out with it and this and the other, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but I keep pushing it to the side. I think for me as well, it's time. Time's a commodity that I don't have a lot of, though.
Yeah,
but it is coming. It's definitely coming, and hopefully that will transfer. The people that I've got on Twitter will transfer over to like the podcasts and stuff like that, and they'll start to see a different side to me, like a more personal side of me. Yeah. Like I said, I've only just started an Instagram as well. It's took me a few years, and I think that was chatting to you and the Against the Fence boys, and they were like, you need to get an Instagram. I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. And to be honest, like, I've only got 40 followers on that, but I've shared a few clips here and there, and they've gone massive, like nearly 10,000 plays, and I'm like, this is mad. I've not even got that many followers. Like, how's that happened? So there's something there, and I think you're right. Maybe I just need to be a bit more, or a bit less hard on myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I think one of the big things for me doing this is I've never done this before.
Yeah, yeah,
This is completely new to me, but I will spend the time sitting down, reviewing, and having a look into, and like, I mean, one of the things I hate massively is listening to my own voice. It's such a
yeah,
weird thing to listen back to yourself, and but I've got to get over that hurdle. And I think reflecting on each episode afterwards and sitting down and doing the editing and listening to it and understanding, all right, that sounded good, that sounded well. And then when obviously at this moment in time, as we record this, these haven't dropped yet. But then looking back at the analytics and understanding, what went well, and actually listening to feedback. I know you get some people that go a little bit over the top and aren't very nice when they come to
yeah,
feedback, but
yeah,
there are people there that genuinely enjoy it and do have constructive criticism, which will go a long way. And I think
yeah,
that's the bonus of having a decent network within content creation, especially in the MMA scene, is that you can reach out to, you could reach out to JK or Sai or Ash or me
yeah,
or anyone. Jourdain's doing his own podcast at the moment.
yeah,
There's all sorts of people out there that are trying to do the same thing. Guys over at Casual MMA, they've I mean, like some of the content that he produces, I absolutely love. I think it's
yeah, yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
And there's people who are out there to offer support and advice if you've got a question, so just do it and see where you end up.
We were talking about Shia LaBeouf before with the just do it. What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
It is so. It is. I mean, we really do need to give it a go. Like I say, I've watched a few Jourdains, and he's got like really good connection with Arnold Allen.
Yeah, I know, mental that one. We've
Yeah,
we've
yeah,
tried
yeah.
on the
And
Against
it
Defence
was
channel for
funny.
ages, and
We were in Manchester, and we bumped like Arnold Allen was at the hotel and that. Jourdain was there, and then he went and spoke to Arnold, and he come back, and he's wearing this hat, and I'm looking, and I went, where'd you get the hat from? He said, Arnold Allen's just stuck it on my head. I was like, it's like sweet.
it's
So
like that,
Arnold,
is it? Wow.
yeah, so where's that? So he took it off and stuck it on his head, and I was like, I love that because it was like, because you guys were there in Manchester, my neck of the woods for 304, and like
Yeah.
the community spirit was there, like, I think Manchester showed a lot. Because that's what we're like up here. We are pretty friendly. We walk down the street and we say, "You all right, mate?" to literally everyone. And that community in the MMA world, like you say, there is that, that community feel where we're all kind of connected. And like you say, you've got the toxic side, which I think you've got in everything, but it seems a lot more prevalent now than it ever was. There's always some people that talk crap, but like these guys, like nowadays, people just like go way too far with it.
Yeah.
And you've got your faceless accounts on X now, and I think it's made it a bit easier. But like you say, some of them you can have fun poking back, and then others you just like better off ignoring. But like you said before, there's people that go too far with the criticism, and then there's people that will offer like genuine, I really like that, but what if you try that? I've got a mate who does like gaming like videos on YouTube, and he'll send them me, and I'll watch them, and I'll go, "Oh, that was sweet, that ball." If something was a little like miss with the audio, I'd say the audio was a bit off there, but it might have been me. But he'd go back and go, "Oh yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. I need to look at that." So we're all a community. Humans are like very sociable creatures. We used to bounce off each other a bit more and learn from each other. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, 100%, 100%. That was, when you speak about Manchester as well, one thing I did notice is the amount of people, because of your presence on X and within the UK scene, the amount of people that were like kind of saying hello to you.
Like,
Who's this guy?
that blew me away a bit. I'd be like, I was just chilling with you guys. I was even in the arena at one time, and I'm just chilling, updating my status, and like, "Yo, Red Wolf." I'm thinking, "Who the fuck was that?" You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking around, and it's like some guy that I'd met the other day, or some guy that had seen me on Twitter, and
Yeah.
that was mental, in a pretty nice way. And they were saying, "Oh, I really like your stuff. Or we spoke about such and such before." But yeah, it was pretty cool that, as well with 304. Like there was some stuff that happened those nights which like I never thought would happen. Like I went out drinking with Nick Pete one of the nights, which was actually Friday night before the event. I'm thinking, oh, it's okay, I can stay up late because the fights are on all night. And then I ended up waking up at like 10 a.m. fight day with a massive, nasty hangover, thinking, shit. Like, well, it'll be all right. I'll just have a few coffees. It'll be all right, But yeah, no, 304 fight week was immense. Like, I really want to do it again.
Was that your first event?
It actually was, so I'd never done it before. Like last time they were in Manchester was 204. Bisbing Henderson, and I missed it. I couldn't get to it, so I was like, it's all right. I think all the other ones have been in London, and I've always wanted to, but then something had happened, or wouldn't be able to get down there, so it was always. I kind of just agreed to myself, I'm not getting to an event anytime soon. And then I heard rumours of a Manchester event just after Aspinall won the belt for Pavlovich. And I was like, mate, if that happens, that's going to be sick. And then it finally got announced, and it was just it was funny because it was ecstasy. And then it was you carry on reading and you go, oh, it's going to be on through the middle of the night. You're like, oh, I can't win, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first event, and I definitely will be trying to get to more. You know what I mean? If they do a London one, then it'll be your neck of the woods. I'll be coming down.
Yeah, it'd be good to meet up and we can all do some sort of collaboration when you've got your channel going, right?
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. I love that.
Speaking of collaboration, I've got a bit of a fun question here. Obviously, collaboration is it's one of the most powerful tools in kind of the influencer world, kind of connecting with a new audience or a similar audience to yours that you've not seen before. And it's always interesting to hear kind of who people would love to team up with. So if you could collaborate with any MMA fighter or another influencer in the space, who would it be and what kind of content would you love to create with them?
Oh, there's so many. That's the thing. There's so many for me that I'd love to work with. Obviously, I'd love to work with my boy Aspinall. I'd love to work with Tom Aspinall. And honestly, mate. Even if it's kind of like what we're doing, just a bit of a chin whack, or what he does with the Fight Lab. You ever seen Aspinall's Fight Lab on TNT? He does with Adam Catterall. He'll do a bit of training, or he'll watch a clip, and
they break it down,
and then breaks it down, and then kind of shows how and stuff like that. So I'd love to do something like that. He'd fling me around the gym like I'm nothing. You know what I mean?
You'd love it.
Again, I'd love to do a thing with Bisbing where we're just kind of just, I don't know, whether having a brew or having a beer. You know what I mean? Just in a pub setting type of thing, and just see how many shots we can get done. But it's hard. It's hard because there's so many people that I'd love to work with. I think I mentioned Mac Malley before. I'd love to try and jump on his podcast. He works a lot with Mike Perry. And the karate combat guys and stuff like that. So that'd be cool to get into. I mean, I'm open to work with anyone. As long as we can bounce off each other and we've got a bit of a rapport. I'm up for it. But fighter wise, I mean, I've been talking to. This was thanks to you guys as well. Talking to Modestus Bakakis a lot. Yeah, and he said he's coming back up to Manchester to do a bit of training, probably in the next couple of months. So all goes well, should be able to link up with him and maybe do some interview or do some kind of training footage or something. You know what I mean? We've still got a bit of time to think about that. But yeah, going forward, I'm hoping I can bring a lot of that new kind of. I want to be the new voice. Do you know what I mean? One of the new voices in the MMA world, and like you said, with a bit of sprinkle of humour and maybe make people think about things. And try and not change the game. But add a little bit of a new thing into the game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That karate combat's an interesting one, right? Because there's a guy called Kwani, and we met him at 284, and he's quite friendly with, or he's been to the events, and he's been there with kind of Mac and Ben Davies and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'd never seen it before, but I quite like the idea of it. I don't know, and it's growing quickly, but. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one for me. I mean, some of the knockouts I've seen when they've kind of jumped off the side of the ring and that are really, really cool. I'm like, well, I'd love to try that one day. It's that kind of I'm gonna Anthony Pettis when he done it on against the Octagon.
Yeah, the Showtime kick. When I first saw the pit, I was like, that looks like a skate park, with the ramps and all that. Yeah. And I'm thinking, how are they gonna fight in that? But like you say, you've seen people kind of. Get pushed onto that bit where it's like that, and then someone's threw a flying knee right onto their face, and I'm thinking, is that allowed? Because is that not him down? But no, it's allowed, and it's just like, well, this is pretty good. This, I've got to some pretty cool stuff happening in karate combat. I think I saw that was something I think I commented on Instagram. His bin was punching some bags before he went in for his surgery recently. And I just said, like, we need to see Rockhold Bisping 3 in Karate Combat. The amount of likes on that was through the roof, and I'm thinking, wow, actually, like this, maybe that is what people want to see. Do you know what I mean? I won't mind seeing that, to be honest.
I think we'll probably get Misfits Boxing or Polaris or something like that instead. But I don't know if Bisping still grapples, but I would like to see him at a Polaris event. Obviously, Rockhold was just on the Craig Jones Invitational, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
So he's doing a bit of grappling. But Bisping, if you're listening, I doubt you are, but Polaris,
Yeah,
that'd be an interesting one to kind of see how that grows as well.
yeah,
Next question is kind of looking forward, and we've touched on it, and I'd like to see kind of what your vision is, and maybe it could be me trying to help you set some goals. I don't know, but I wanted to know, where do you see yourself in this space in say the next 5 years? Is there a particular platform that you're eyeing up to go on to, or have you got an idea already which we haven't touched on about kind of content and stuff?
So I knew you'd say 5 years because it was recently. I was actually thinking about 5 years, and I was thinking. Then I was realizing how old I was in 5 years, and I was like, "Oh, that's just hit me like a ton of bricks."
Conceive, believe, achieve. Was that Bisping one?
Which one?
Fuck.
Conceive, believe, achieve.
Yeah, and he's like, fuck that.
Like I don't know. In 5 years, hopefully, in fact, to be honest, I've been thinking about this since 3 or 4 fight week, because I went to the Sunday after that, like, you know, when the adrenaline starts kicking, like, cooling down, and I was laid there and was thinking, like, I could really do something here. Like, the amount of people I met that week, like you guys, Jordan, Kaz Crosley, the fight, like, met Molly, met Paddy, met all these people that I was having a really good connection with, and I was thinking, I could probably do something with this, you know what I mean? So it was a bit of an eye opener. So I'm hoping in 5 years, I'm definitely going to have the YouTube. Should be going by then. Maybe, you know, might have 1K subscribers, you know, if I starting out. I don't know. But I do want to carry on with the Twitter, with the X, if it's going all right by then. Do you know what I mean? Instagram. I don't know about TikTok. I know a lot of people are on TikTok, and it's such a quick, like, you know, things. But I'd probably like TikTok. It's probably one of them where you'll see a clip from there and then want to go to like the full YouTube thing or something. But yeah, I want to do a podcast. I want to do interviews. I want to do, like you say, funnies. I want to do some kind of funny stuff. And I kind of do want to, like, I don't know, explore a different side of MMA. Like, recently there's a lot of new fans which they just want the knockouts. They just want to see people beat the crap out of each other, like this, that, and the other. And that's one of the best things about MMA. It's brilliant, but there's also like another side to it where there's like the philosophy of it, the psychology of MMA.
Yeah.
Where it's all about respect. It's about like the underdog story. I mean, that just happened recently, yesterday. One of the Dana White Contender Series. I think every underdog, massive underdogs, completely swept the board. Do you know what I mean? And it was actually pretty amazing to see, because like they were huge underdogs. And I think even Dana, you know, said something along the same lines, like he loves it when an underdog comes through. We don't often agree, me and Dana, but we agree on that. Especially recently. Don't get me wrong, I love Dana back in the days, but Dana recently is like, I don't know what's going on with the guy. Like, something's up with him.
Yeah, after Manchester and the post fight press conference, and he was just like, as a UK fan, like having him come along and kind of disrespect it when he's put the card at like midnight, and all the local fighters are trying to have to change their sleeping routines, and then he just goes off on one about basically how poor we are. Then he drops Mikhaev, and I mean, obviously we still don't quite know the truth behind what happened behind the scenes there.
No.
But it's just a it just seems a bit odd. And some of the stuff he's saying, I mean, the amount that he's going on. I mean, that they did the goat thing, didn't they, last night for John Jones and stuff, and it's like, calm down, man. Like, I know you like John Jones, but Tom Aspinall must be fuming.
Well, when I saw that, I was like, I was watching the contenders, and like I just looked up because I started hearing this like trailer, and I looked up and I saw John Jones, and I was thinking, are they actually going to announce John Jones and Stipe on a Contender Series episode? So I was watching it, and then it got to the end, and it's like, no, John Jones is the GOAT. I was like, did he really just put a John Jones promo in just a random Contender episode? Like, why? Like, what was that about? Like, the amount of people that were probably hyped up, like, oh, he's going to announce Stipe and Jones, and it just didn't happen. I was just like, there's supporting your fighters, and then there's next level, like what he's doing now. And you hit the nail on the head. Like, Aspinall must be just watching that going, what are you doing, man? Like, I mean, Aspinall put a funny video out not long ago where he was on the hunt for John.
I've seen that, yeah.
It's hilarious, man. Like, it's just so, but it's spot on as well. Do you know what I mean? Because still to this day, John Jones has not said, yeah, you know what, I'll fight Aspinall. Or after Stipe, yeah, I'll fight Tom. So I think we know what's going to happen after John and Stipe fight.
Yeah. I think it's a really clever move actually from Tom, because even if it doesn't happen, if it doesn't come to fruition, the attention that it's getting from Jones fans and like the old MMA fans, because they understand who John Jones is and they saw his rising and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Either way, it is a win-win for Tom.
Yeah.
He might not get the fight. He might not get the money for getting the fight. There is always going to be that excuse of he's not what he was.
Yeah.
And that's what will come out afterwards if Tom beats him.
Yeah.
But just having the exposure to having the backwards and forwards with John Jones, I think gives him, in terms of like social media and influence on social media, gives him a massive step forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think in a way as well, like John, he probably might not say it outright, and he never said it outright when he had the beef with Cormier. But I think John does respect Tom. Like, I think you can see it in some of the posts, even some of like the really like weird, nasty posts. You can tell that he does respect it. And like you say, Tom's just doing what Tom needs to do. I mean, he started off being quite nice and saying, John, I would like to fight you. And then it came into, John, I'm better than you. Now it's turned into, John, I'm going to have a bit of fun with you, mate. You know what I mean? And again, that's our kind of like sense. That's what we do with a sense of humor. We will take the piss. Do you know what I mean? And like you say, even if they don't get the fight, and I'm not disrespecting John Jones' legacy. Like, for me, John Jones is personally the second best GOAT. Like, for me, GSP is the GOAT. And John Jones is one of the greatest fighters ever. Like, there's absolutely no denying that. Even Tom Aspinall recently said on the Mount Rushmore of MMA, John Jones is on there. Like, you can't deny what he's done. People will always put a little asterisk because of the drug tests and the outside of the cage antics. And you can't forget about that. But I'm not disrespecting John, but there's always going to be that what if.
Yeah.
And I think like John knows he's getting a bit older now, and he's not what he was. 5 times undefeated, no matter who you are. You know what I mean? Like, age will eventually creep up with you. But yeah, if John retires after Stipe, yeah, he's still one of the GOATs. Do you know what I mean? There's no denying it. And then hopefully Tom gets promoted to undisputed, or like Tom asked, he gives him his belt as he's walking out, which I can't see John doing. But
no way. Of course he's not going to do that.
It's just not in his style. Do you know what I mean?
No.
But yeah, I think I'd like to say by the end of this year, we're going to have an answer whether Tom's going to be champ or he's still waiting for John.
I'd like to see John take the challenge. I do think like he's kind of already alluded to it, saying that like he's got nothing left to prove. So he's basically already said like once he's done this fight, he's done.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think he hasn't helped himself, but people are really kind of completely forgetting about Stipe and the whole thing.
Yeah.
But he's not fought in God knows how long, so that doesn't help at all.
No. And I think, like I say, it's been... Well, I put a thing out a while ago, and I had to triple check these, because I'd seen something on X, and I was like, that can't be right. And then once I started digging, I found more. It was like, the last time Stipe won a fight, Paddy wasn't in the UFC. Pereira wasn't in the UFC. Topuria wasn't in the UFC. And I'm just like, that can't be right. And I was looking at that, boy, it actually genuinely is. And I love Stipe. I think Stipe is the heavyweight GOAT in the UFC.
Yeah.
And again, he wants the money fight before he retires, and you can't knock him for that.
Yeah.
But I think like a lot of people have said this, like, the John and Stipe fight doesn't need a belt on the line. It's a legacy fight for both of them. People will buy that and watch that probably even without the undisputed belt on the line. That just adds a little bit more intrigue to it. But yeah, it's holding the division up. I mean, I could talk for days. We'll be here for the whole hour, if we carried on with John and Stipe and Tom. But it's a hot topic at the minute, and like you say, Dana doesn't help things by. He's got to be playing into it as well, hasn't he? This whole, glazing thing.
Yeah, look, if I was Dana, obviously he's very protective of John Jones, but if you've got to think about the amount of money that fight would make with the amount of to and fro that they've both had, I think it's a headliner for any card that they were ever looking at, and it's a no-brainer. Well, no matter where they put it, people are going to tune in. I think it's John Jones. Don't get me wrong, it's John Jones. He's got that McGregor style kind of superstar power, and then it's the kind of whole kind of, does he actually beat Tom after Tom's disrespected him so much?
Yeah, there's gonna be. I was just sorry. Go on, man.
No. You go.
I was just saying, like you say, if you put John on a card, people will watch it. If you put Conor on a card, people will say they won't watch it, but you know damn well they're going to watch it. And Dana's just being a promoter, but Dana doesn't even need to promote this. You could just drop a trailer and a date and a time, and it'd be like, yeah, we're there. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Like you say, with Tom, I feel a bit like, I mean, this is the thing, that Dana could also kind of be promoting Tom and being like, you know what, though, Tom a bit more than he is. It would be like, Tom is a real challenge to John, and he could be he could even coax John into it and say, imagine if he beats Tom, imagine if he does this, and make John kind of think, well, maybe. And I think that's what's been going on with Tom recently, is he's been prodding the bear, poking the ego. And DC recently kind of said something about that. Like, the only way you get a reaction from Jones or get him to notice you is if you press his ego. And it seems to be working a little bit. So let's see what's next. But some people are liking this bad boy Tom Aspinall type of approach.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got the social media following and the influence that he's now got with the position that he's in, why not?
Yeah, might as well. You know what I mean? Why not? But it's definitely working. Well, it seems to be working, but we'll see. But I think they just need to announce Jones and Stipe now. I think a lot of people have pretty much, become aware that it's in November or sometime. But we've got to wait and see. Either way, I'm looking forward to it. And like you say, a lot of people kind of writing Stipe. Stipe is just having fun creating OnlyFans content, dancing around to NSYNC. Do you know what I mean? He's loving life. He don't care. Do you know what I mean? He's letting them two argue amongst each other. And a lot of people are saying, could you imagine if Stipe won? Like the meltdown, it would just cause pandemonium.
It would be incredible. I'd also like to see Stipe put out the day before with an injury and Tom step in to replace him.
Yeah, trips over the cable. Do you know what I mean? It's only famous in it. You know what I mean? And then Tom Aftergo steps in and was like, "Yo, what's up, John?"
Yeah, they catch it on camera and they lift back the curtain and Tom's there pulling a rope. Like shit up in court.
I can see him filming something like that as well. Like, he's probably going to do a skit like that.
Yeah, that would be so funny if he just did a little edited clip of him behind a curtain going like
sneaking up behind him and that.
Yeah, that would be very funny. Especially if you then went to win the fight as well. That'd be even funnier. One thing I did want to touch on, you mentioned it slightly, and I spoke to you beforehand, and we were talking about it. Is obviously that kind of psychology and what's the other word I'm looking for now? Philosophy. Where like you've got that on your profile, and it's something that I've never actually spoke to you about. So I just kind of wanted to learn a bit more about what that's about, really.
Yeah. To be honest, for a while I forgot it was there, and then when I was changing my bio and that, I was thinking about, do I take this out? Do I leave it in? But I think it's been there for so long now that it is a part of me. But so it's a weird one. So for me, like, philosophy and psychology has been something that's been quite a passion for me. Of going back quite a while. Even like when I was younger, like I'd hear quotes and stuff like that. Greek philosophy quotes. I had no idea what it meant, but it resonated with me, and I was like, these little things that would get me through. It's one of them that I actually think I'd like to eventually touch on in like the future podcasts as well, because I do a lot regarding men's mental health, and I think that's becoming a lot more. Not accepted is the wrong word, but a lot more people are more aware of it. Like we mentioned Paddy Pimblett before, every time he wins, he always shouts out like Andy's Man Club, or he shouts out someone that's going through hard times. I think that's what I love about Paddy. A lot of people think like Paddy's just this gobshite scouser, which he is, but he's also like one of the most genuine guys you probably ever meet. You know what I mean? He's got a heart of gold. But so like psychology as well is not just about like the mental health type of thing. Psychology is also learning about yourself, and about other people. And I think the more you learn about yourself, the more you learn about other people, and vice versa. And I think like in a way, fighting is as psychological as it is physical. Do you know what I mean? Because like we talked a little bit about that fear of doing something. Like I think even if you speak to like some of the hardest like bastards in the cage, they'll say that they got scared before they went out. Do you know what I mean? They always felt that little bit of but then they can psychologically use that fear into going out there and putting on a performance of a lifetime. And I think we spoke about him a lot, probably because he's one of the best MMA fighters at the minute. But Tom Aspinall kind of said something along the lines of, he gets that fear, but that's what drives him. Do you know what I mean? That's what drives him into doing these performances. GSP as well. I mean, if you've ever read GSP's autobiography, The Way of the Fight, honestly, man, pick that up if ever you can. It's so insightful. It's unreal. And he kind of said every fight he went out to, he was scared. Do you know what I mean? But he used that to be like, let's do let's fight for my life type of thing. Yes, and then on to the philosophy. Philosophy is just, basically figuring out a reason why we're here. And I think every man, woman, every human needs to find their purpose in life and the reasons to keep going and the reasons to accept hardships. Do you know what I mean? Like people, going back to the GOAT conversation, John Jones is one of the GOATs. He's never lost. He's got one loss, but I will say that loss doesn't count. Do you know what I mean? But for me, GSP's the GOAT. Even though there's 2 losses on his record, each one of those losses was a lesson. It taught him something. He bounced back stronger. He became better for it. And I think in life, that's basically what we have to do. We're all going to lose at one point. Something's going to drop. Something's going to cause us to take 5 steps back and reevaluate. But using that kind of philosophy instead of the why is this happening to me, it's kind of like, what can this teach me? So there's a lot of reasons why I do why I have psychology and philosophy. And recently I did lose someone very close to me who basically taught me a lot about psychology. My mentor, he was my best mate. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And what was quite funny was he was one of them guys that you speak to about when you're feeling like shit. And when he passed, I was like, I need to speak to him. I feel like shit. And I was like, oh shit, I can't. Like, I was there going, oh, you bastard, why have you done this now? You know what I mean? But again, that's the kind of like friendship we had. Like, we would call each other all kinds of names and stuff like that. But yeah, I think psychology and philosophy is paramount to survive. Not just the fighting, not just fighters using it, but just people like me and you that go out there into the world, because the world's a bit of a crazy place at the minute. I think it's the worst it's been in a very long time. Yeah. And it's that kind of, finding the will and the strength to keep going through hardships, which I find which is very close personal things to me. And if I can help other people do that, and if I can help other people find the light in the darkness, then I've done something right. So yeah, so kind of going back to what we were saying before about what would I like to, you've kind of just, I told you I was tired, so it does take me a while to get to things. But going back to what you said about where do I want to see myself in 5 years, is hopefully, with the podcast and using the comedy, the psychology and the philosophy to help others, not learn about MMA, not just enjoy fights, but to learn something about themselves and get a brighter future, basically.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, you know what? I think that was so touching that's probably what I'm going to end on because I feel so
I can hear the
moved.
music in the background. You know them like motivational videos you hear.
I might do that and send it to you now so you can
Yeah.
post it out.
I mean, that's me saying it while I'm absolutely knackered as well. You know what I mean, but if I wasn't so tired, it might sound a bit more coherent. But that was just all off the top of the dome because you wouldn't tell me about what we were going to talk about today, which was quite good, I must admit. You know what I mean? You didn't feel like
I think because one thing I quickly learned doing this is that when I went into my first podcast, I had like a full on script, and I was like, right, these are the questions I'm going to ask. And through the natural conversation throughout the podcast, they were answering questions which I'd already asked.
Yeah.
They were answering questions which I was getting ready to ask. So they'd done like a 5-10 minute talk about a certain thing, and they'd already touched on it. And I was scrolling through at the top because it's got like a script thing here. I was scrolling through. I was going, fuck, they've already answered that. Oh, can't ask that one either.
You're just crossing them off like, no, well, that's it, guys. Thank you for joining.
Yeah. You've answered all my questions in the first question. Thanks.
Yeah.
So I stepped away from doing that, and it's been a lot more comfortable just trying to have to active listen and kind of think of the questions as you go along, and then prep. If you are prepping a question, prep a question which is completely separate. So don't come in with a topic because I was thinking of a topic for you, and the topic was going to be like kind of social media because of your presence on social media and how successful I see you on social media, and kind of delving right into kind of that. But if I asked you like quite a simple question about kind of how do you approach it, like do you prep for the week or something crazy like that, then a lot of what you would talk about unintentionally would encompass a lot of the other questions. So I thought this time we'll just sit down and we'll just have a bit more of just a chat and just see where we end up.
Well, I like that, and that's kind of like, like say in the future, that's kind of what I want to do. It's just that free flow, like let's have a brew, let's have a drink type thing, and just like if you were in the pub, you know what I mean, or you were like in a cafe somewhere and we're just chatting. You know what I mean? I think that's way. I mean, a lot of these podcasts, I think the reason they do so well is like you've got Rogan, and he'll ask questions, but then they just kind of flow, or like the guest will just start chatting. I mean, Rogan does this funny thing though, I must admit, where he'll say something and he'll start laughing, and then he'll be like, "Oh man, that's hilarious," but is it? But would a bear be a shark? And he'd go really serious all of a sudden. I'll go, "Whoa, where did that come from?" Like, sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say Rogan's quite unique purely because the kind of guests that he can get onto it, like it being an MMA podcast, this is like we're trying to think of like what kind of audience is slightly different that we could kind of interview that people or just general MMA fans don't really get to see. So I'm slightly jealous of him. I'd love to try and approach like celebrities which aren't fighters but are interested in the sport.
Yeah.
Because it'd be really interesting to kind of hear like about like their experiences like watching the UFC and stuff. But I don't know how we're going to do that. We might have to try and get on with Kaz and see if she wants to talk.
No, because Kaz has got some pretty good. I mean, I don't follow football that well, so you might have to. There was a football recently that did the Adesanya. Well, it's actually Pierre's, but did the bow and arrow celebration.
Mohamed Salah.
That was it. It was Mo Salah, and they asked him like, I watch UFC quite a lot. It's like, and it surprised a load of people. I'm thinking, why is it surprising? Like, UFC is like massive, and, but yeah, I think even Bisping recently, he has like Anthony Smith on there, and he has like all the fighters coming up. But recently, he had a doctor on, which I still need to watch. I haven't watched it, and he had a doctor on, which was something about healthy eating, and this doctor's talking about how we should be living longer, but the food that we're eating is like basically full of crap. Do you know what I mean? So even Bisping's starting to lean more into the other side of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because there is a ceiling with this. You can speak to the whole roster of fighters if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you had the influence to do that, then great. Along the way, they've all got individual stories, but the conversation is always going to end up back at like, what's your next fight? How are you preparing? All that kind of stuff. So how do prep something different for the audience? And that's where we kind of went, okay, let's talk to content creators, people like out there doing YouTube, doing social media. And let's also talk to let's reach out to people that work for the UFC, maybe see if they want to come on, see what their roles are, see what a day-to-day life like someone that works for the UFC is. Because one of the things, I wasn't doing content creation, but I was thinking, I'd love to have a job at the UFC. Like, I wonder what it's like traveling the world. Like, I don't know who she is, but I always see her on the when I'm watching the live cards. There's a girl that's always got a phone, and she posts the clips for the social media page. She just travels the world taking videos on her phone. And I'm just like, how'd you get that job?
How'd you get that gig? That's awesome. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you're up close to the fighters.
And then boom, on to the next one. I mean, some of the stuff she posts as well is like really funny as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they'll put clips and the editing on it is like really slick. I mean, I met some of the, I'd probably say this, probably say this. I met some of the TNT sport crew, the social media guys and stuff like that. And they were like, you know, they were hilarious and like they were just tweeting. Do you know what I mean? And they said it's meant, it's, you know, it's really good. And what they actually told me as well is they think that people don't read the comments. He said, we do. We read the comments and we have a laugh. Do you know what I mean? Like some of them are hilarious. Do you know what I mean? So there's all these different jobs. I mean, I always thought about if I wasn't going to be a fighter, I wouldn't mind being a referee. I mean, that's the best seat in the house right there, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like,
covered in blood a lot.
In the cage, right there. Do you know? But I'd be probably one of them. I'd be so into it. I'd be like, oh, this is bullshit. I need to stop. Like, I think that
round 4. How did round 2 go again?
I think that happens with Herb Dean quite a lot sometimes. He's just so in the moment. He's like, oh shit. Like, I need to stop. You know, but yeah, I'd love to have I think a lot of people, that's their dream, innit, to work for the UFC. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We can all dream.
Exactly, man.
At my age now, I think I'm not going to become a professional UFC fighter.
I've got a mate, like, and he says that because he's kind of like, he's into it, and he knows I'm like a hardcore. He even says that. He said, like, what do you do, staying up all night and this, that, and the other? I don't know how you do it. I'm like, it's natural. It's natural now to me. Do you know what I mean? He said, would you ever do it? Like, would you ever do professional fighting? I said, I'd love to, mate, but I've already crossed the threshold of, like, you know the 35 curse. I'm getting there. Like, I'm gonna lose as soon as I pick. Do you know what I mean? So but yeah, it's probably game over. But I mean, I still like to train and maybe do a few like charity matches, stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of influencer stuff happening at the moment, and I've heard, probably can't say too much, but I've heard like Karate Combat are getting into the influencer like matchup type of thing recently. So
Ben Davies did one fight against Anderson Silva's son, wasn't it?
I think it was, and he's doing bare knuckle as well coming up soon against.
That's mental.
How mad is that? I think it's Oscar Willis he's going up against, isn't it?
Yeah, that's absolutely bonkers.
So fair play to him, man. That's like, he's done Karate Combat. I'm sure he's done a grappling match as well, hasn't he, or something? I'd have to double check.
Not too sure, if I'm honest. I'm not sure. I know he's a Karate Combat. I tell you what, though, I'll place a bet with you right now, right? I'll bet you £20 he will break his hand.
What, first punch thrown?
Not first punch, but he will, in that fight, if he lasts long enough, he will break his hand. He'll punch the guy somewhere in the face or which is hard, and he'll break his hand, I reckon.
Yeah, so there you go then 20 quid. No, because I think he will as well. So I'm not taking that bet. I agree with you. Yeah, bare knuckles mental. Like, it's pretty funny as well that Conor McGregor's got into it because bare knuckle is like pretty predominantly Irish. Like the Irish travellers were like big into the bare knuckles. In fact, they probably started it. They were just like, they're the OGs of bare knuckle. Like around my end, we had like Paddy Doherty who lived around here. Like he'd do bare knuckle fighting and this and the other. I think the talk from like 4 years old. As soon as they can walk, they're thrown in a hay bale and like, right, batter that boy. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a mental world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I actually see bare knuckle doing quite well. Better than power slap.
Let's not start on that. This will be a 2-hour episode, I think.
But power slap will be better than the UFC, won't it? So
it's doing bigger numbers, you know.
Yeah, but all sports combined, times it by 4, and that's power slap. But yeah.
But that's like saying, right? If you look at it, when you start a YouTube channel, you see what I mean. We pump out shorts that get like 10,000 plus views, right?
Yeah.
We get nothing for that because shorts don't really generate revenue or income.
Yeah.
Is that you don't get the ads like when you put out a video which is like more than I think like 10, 15 minutes long. You put an ad in it or something, and that's what generates the money. So yeah, if someone said, do you want 10,000 views on a long form content, or do you want 10,000 views on shorts? I'd always take the long form content. This power slap is just purely shorts.
Yeah. Like I see a lot of clips of power slap, but that's what it is, clips. Do you know what I mean? It's like a 10-second clip of some guy getting whacked in the face and going down like a sack of spuds. And you do kind of go, ooh, that was hard. And then you move on to the next. Do you know what I mean? It was like, then you might see another clip, and it's a girl this time getting whacked. I mean, and you're just like, oh right, yeah, that was a nasty one. And then you're on to the next thing. And do you know what I mean? It's like, so it is probably doing numbers in the, like you say, the views category. But I think David doesn't understand that they're not like someone's not sitting down for 7 hours to watch a full like power slap event, whereas they would for a full like UFC card. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like if someone said to me, power slap's coming to the O2 in London.
Yeah.
It's going to start at 10 o'clock at night. It's going to finish at 6 o'clock in the morning. I won't be there. I'd be at the UFC. I won't be there.
Exactly. But if UFC did it and stacked the card, you'd be like, yeah, man. Yeah, I'm there. Do you know what I mean? It was like when, I moaned a lot. I say moan. People were like getting annoyed with it. But I started a little campaign when 304 was announced to be on through the night. Man, I started just going at it. Every meme I could think of about Dana hating the UK, I went for it, right? But I still, even though I was posting them, I still knew I was going. Like, do you know what I mean? Even if it did stay on through the night, I still knew I was going, but I was still going to try and get into change times. But do you know what I mean? Like, it was just funny. And then once I started, and people were starting to like reshare them and stuff like that, and like, I'm on this train with you. Like, we're gonna get like, sweet man. Yeah, here's another one. Do you know what I mean? Like, here's one I thought of on the walk to work. You know, like so. But yeah, like power slap, it's fun to watch a clip or two, but like for the full event, it's just it's not something that I could get into. And it's like, you know, the stuff Dana comes out with when he says about, oh, it's the same as boxing, and it's like when I heard him say that, I thought, no, you come on, man, come on, you can't believe that you're just making this up now. You know what I mean? And I think he was on it was the Full Send podcast. I can't remember those guys' names, but even the guy in that said, nah, I'm not having that. And he was like,
I've seen that clip. Yeah.
And even he said the same thing. He said it's just like, what was it? Fight 1, someone gets slapped. Fight 2, it's the same thing every time. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
Dana wasn't too happy about that. You could tell, but it's true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I think, like you say, with UFC as well, the one thing I have to try and remember about UFC and MMA is it's still actually quite young. I mean, it's 31 years since the UFC started in '93. But in terms of like, you know, sports as a whole, that's still pretty young. I mean, boxing's been going since like the 40s, like maybe even earlier than that. Well, we think boxing was going back to the Roman times. Do you know what I mean? They found some like ancient Roman boxing gloves not long ago, like was padded and all that. So, but also, here's one for you. It's one of those. This is one of them episodes now. Did you know the ancient Greeks had a form of MMA? I cannot remember what it's called, so I'd have to look it up. But basically, it was no holds barred fighting, and it incorporated like, you know, what we would call judo, what we would call jiu-jitsu, striking. So fighting has been in human blood since like we were around. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But MMA as a professional sport is still pretty young.
I always look at it as like a modern evolution of like gladiators.
Yeah, exactly.
people in an arena watching people try and kill each other, basically.
Yeah. Basically, we just got rid of the weapons and the animals. Do you know what I mean? It's like, no, mate.
And put a
The
referee in
elephant.
there just to make sure.
Don't give Dana no ideas. That'll be the next. That'll be the next thing, right? Okay, we're gonna put a bear in there with Khabib. Bear versus bear for his return. Do you know what I mean? The rematch.
Well, if we didn't have a referee, then Conor McGregor would have been killed by Khabib, I think, right?
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. I mean, that was mental. I mean, they released the no commentary clip of that, and I never actually realised it all them years back then that Khabib kind of like spat on him after he stood up. He kind of like spat, and I was like, "Ooh, I didn't notice that all them years ago."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like
I remember that. I remember it was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and Khabib tapped him out, and then launched his gum shot. It was just spiffing, and then people jumped in, and the missus came in the morning, and my daughter had just woken up, and I was just going, "You'll never believe what happened! Like, you'll never believe what happened. He's jumped out the ring and he's fighting with people outside the ring house." And I was up for like another 2 hours, whereas normally I just go straight to sleep.
Same. I remember like because you saw the tap and you go, "Oh well, you know that was good fight." And then like you say, even Joe Rogan's expression was like hilarious. It's like, no, and he's got flying eagle, which is just iconic now as he's flying out of the octagon. And even I was like stood there like it was there, stood there in front of the telly like, "Yo, what's going on?" Like,
yeah, just Dylan Dennis like.
Yeah, and then when Dana says to him, "What was it? If I put this belt on you now, this whole arena's going to erupt." And Khabib's just like, "I am ready for this. I am ready. This is okay."
Yeah, I was. I'd love to see that again. Something like that would be fantastic. Not what we should be promoting, but it was very entertaining.
No, there's been a few times where you think it's going to happen. It's like the Makayev and Keep fight. Like, I thought they were going to absolutely scrap even after the bell rang. I thought they were going to pull each other like apart. And then they just were like, you know what, we're all right now. I mean, we got it out of our system. We're all good, And I think a lot of people were kind of let down by that.
Yeah. And I think that maybe Makayev was told something before the fight because he's been quite laddish and loud and proud in other fights, but not to that extent. But to be at that extent and then when the fight starts to be completely different is not normal.
Yeah.
So I think something was said to him.
On. And I think even like Mo's alluded to it himself, and he said like there's stuff going on. Dana's obviously said a few things. Other people have said a few things, and it's going to be always Chinese whispers in it. Do you know what I mean? Like people are going to be tight-lipped about it, but I hope he comes back eventually because Makayev is a good kid. He's he's into all kinds of stuff, but aren't we all at that age? Do you know what I mean? We're all a bit young and silly sometimes, but yeah, he's a good kid. He's talented, very talented.
Yeah, and we'll see how it pans out for him. I'm sure he'll be back. I mean, anywhere else that he goes, surely he's going to start absolutely everyone that he comes up against. So I'll watch his next few fights and see where he is at the end of that.
But yeah, well, he's back at Brave, so he's back where he started. So it's kind of I don't want to say a full circle, but it could be a full circle because Circle eventually will bring him back to the UFC. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure that he will smash it. Right, I'm gonna wrap it up there. We've gone over our hour. It's 10 in the UK. So and I need to start. Hi guys, thank you so much for joining. If you did enjoy that episode, please don't forget to hit a like, subscribe, follow, depending on where you are, and we look forward to hearing you in the next one. Bye bye.